Hey guys, this is Curtis from Gayside Stories, and I am here with two very special guests. We have something very important that we want to say to all of the listeners.
Yes. Hello, everybody. It's Candice from the So Newlywed Podcast and also from Ratchet Ramblings. And I am joined by my co-host, my husband, Michael, and I'll let him.
Hey y'all, how y'all doing? You know where to find me at. I won't say my dumbass at name.
That shit's stupid.
The irony that it has brilliant in it is what's taking me down.
Yeah.
Oh, man down.
I did that on purpose, y'all.
I don't know if that's something you should admit to.
Look, hey, did you?
Yeah.
Right.
OG voice. Is it?
Well, we've come together because we want to talk a little bit about voting and its importance. As you should know, a very important time in voting is coming up this November. A lot of states have been having primaries, so you've been seeing things like that happen. So we just want to give you guys a little bit of information. We felt like it was our duty to talk about this using the platform that we have. We've been blessed to be able to podcast, and even if we don't have a huge reach, we're doing our part.
Absolutely.
So first up, I think will be Candice talking about voter registration.
Yes, so a lot of people don't really understand the voter registration rules in the states that they live in. And so when it's time to get to the polls, they can't vote. And that's what I believe this current administration has banked on and is banking on again, because I believe Trump said it when he got elected. I want to thank all the Black people for not voting. So if you check out vote.org, they have a list of voter registration rules state by state, and they have links to where you can go to find out where you can sign up to vote. And if your state is one of the states that allows online voter registration, they allow you to register to vote right there at vote.org. So also, Curtis made a good point while we were pre-gaming. You need to check and make sure you're still registered to vote. If you've moved districts or counties, if you move to another state, you need to check and make sure you're registered to vote, and make sure, because I know here in Colorado, you have to be in the state of Colorado for at least 22 days prior to an election to be able to vote. So if you haven't done so, check and make sure your voter registration is up to date, your current address,
right, whatever county you in.
Yeah, all of that. You need to do all of that as well.
Yeah, and even if you haven't had any of the life events that Candice mentioned, still check, because it's been in the news that this administration has been trying to do voter purging of their records. So you could have not moved and done anything in life and still may not be registered to vote anymore. So definitely do your due diligence to make sure you are registered to vote.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, so with that said, though, there are some, we did our homework because we didn't want to come to you guys uninformed. And so Curtis and Michael are going to talk about how many seats are up for grabs in the Senate and the House, and then we'll go from there.
So 33 senators in Senate Class 1 will be up for election. 23 of those seats, excuse me, 23 of the seats to be contested are presently held by Democrats and 8 by Republicans, 3 of whom are retiring. So with 2 being independents. The continuing senators are 43 Republican and 24 Democrat. So if you paid attention in your government class, you know that the Senate is a part of the legislative branch. They're the ones that kick out the laws that we all have to live by. So it does not matter how you identify in this life. If you are American or in an American territory, i.e. Puerto Rico, you all have to abide by these rules. So it's very important that we have the right senators in place. And right now, the Republicans control the Senate, and so they can pretty much push through any kind of legislation they want that is passed by the House. So additionally, special elections are scheduled for the same day to fill in vacancies in the two other Senate classes in Minnesota and Mississippi.
And let it not be lost on you that the Democrats need those seats. Like they need a majority of those 33 seats that are up for grabs. Like you need to get out and vote because the Senate is trying to take away so much, like down to healthcare. And for women, it's really getting crazy because Trump's new healthcare identifies everything as a pre-existing condition, damn near. If you're a woman that's had a child, he's trying to call that a pre-existing condition. How the fuck is having a kid a pre-existing condition? If you had a C-section, pre-existing condition. Cancer, pre-existing condition. Diabetes, high blood pressure. If you ever broke your foot, a finger, your toe, pre-existing condition. If you've ever had any type of health problems, both terminal or for the moment, he wants to call that stuff a pre-existing condition, which could drive your healthcare up or make it hard for you to get healthcare, period.
Or even worse, have you paying for healthcare that doesn't cover anything.
Cover a goddamn thing. Listen.
And in addition to that, if you're like me and you're part of the LGBT community, this administration, the Senate included, has been doing everything in their power to roll back as many protections as possible. Like at this point, marriage equality has not been contested, but they are trying to put super conservatives on the Supreme Court. So if it is
Cavanaugh, bitch, we see you.
Indeed. Then all of this stuff will definitely be brought up. Now, the Supreme Court, they don't really revisit cases on their own, but you can bet if Cavanaugh or another conservative like him is appointed to the Supreme Court, somebody is going to file some kind of lawsuit to be able to take that and get it to the Supreme Court.
Yeah. I was looking into Cavanaugh after the way, what's the lady in the Senate or the Congress who read him for filth?
Kamala Harris, is it?
Yes. They were saying, so I did my digging, and like in the past, he's never had a pro LGBTQ stance on anything. He's never said anything against the community, but to me, saying nothing is as bad as going against the community in my eyes. Like the fact you're either for or against the community having fair rights, protection, agency to choose.
Yeah, so
there's no middle ground. So if you're just being quiet, you're against it, in my opinion. So he's never had a strong opinion for the community having protection rights. And then he made a statement about judges shouldn't make decisions based on their own bias or something like that, or they shouldn't. And I was just kind of like, there's no bias with that. People deserve to be protected regardless of who they love and who they have families with, who they marry. So it's just kind of like, no, he's not. They don't have anything to show he's blatantly homophobic, but he's never had a pro-protection, pro-rights stance in the LGBTQ community. So that's dangerous to me, because if he has to be the deciding vote, I believe he will always vote against the community. So
not only that, but the fact that he's being nominated by Trump, in my opinion, tells you everything you need to know.
Right.
Yeah, correct.
Because we know how Trump stands on all of that stuff. We know how most of the appointments he's made within his administration are on the same wavelengths, i.e. Betsy DeVos. What's the other little Keebler elf looking man? I can't remember his name. The Attorney General.
Oh yeah.
I know you talking about. He do look like a Keebler elf.
Yeah, whatever his name is. Like he has been putting people in these positions that do these things. So this is why, again, it's very, very important that we vote, because the Senate is part of the the confirmation process for Supreme Court judges.
And just the way Trump moves in general, we all know that he's not gonna put anyone in a position of power that doesn't agree with him. or that doesn't follow him. He's just his personality in general. He doesn't deal and he doesn't react well to people that disagree with him on views.
Fat bitch.
Right.
So we already know what he's about.
Yeah, you can assume that even if someone is not coming out saying those things, which is probably strategic because it would be that much harder to go through confirmation if you are on record doing or saying these things.
Yeah.
Although, if I'm not mistaken, isn't there a story out now saying that Cavanaugh was accused of rape when he was like a teenager or something like that?
Yes.
Yeah, there is. There is.
These are the type of people that they're trying to put in office to govern all of us. All right. And a lot of the things that they have been doing, the protections that they've been rolling back, it's going to take a long time to undo the damage that's being done. And we're not even talking about all of the immigration stuff with ICE and separating those kids at the border. Like, there's so much. It's so important. So,
and we need the right people in those positions to kind of get all of this stuff back together.
Correct. So speaking of right people in the right positions, tell us a little bit about what's going on with the House of Representatives.
So in the House of Representatives, it looks like all 435 voting seats in the United States House of Representatives will be up for election. Additionally, elections will be held to select non-voting delegates for the District of Columbia and U.S. territories, with the exception of the resident commissioner of Puerto Rico, who serves a 4-year term. It looks like during or prior to 2018 House election on November 6th, there will be at least 5 special elections. First of which being a special election in Pennsylvania, 18th Congressional District, following the resignation of Tim Murphy, held on March 13th, 2018.
What did he resign for?
Won by Connor Lamb.
Didn't he get caught up in some shit?
Tim Murphy?
Yes.
He did get caught up in some shit. I don't quite remember what it was though, but he definitely did.
And that seat was won by a Democrat. So
yeah.
That was nice.
Another one was a special election in Arizona's 8th congressional district, following the resignation of Trent Franks, held on April 24, 2018, and it was won by Debbie Lesko, who's a Republican.
Right.
Special election in Texas, 27th Congressional District, following the resignation of Blake Farenthold. He sound like he be in some wild shit.
He sound like a pervert. That last name is not.
Yeah. And
it's very investigation discovery.
Yeah. And that was held on June 30th, and it was won by Michael Cloud, another Republican.
Yeah. Also, special election in Ohio's 12th Congressional District, following the resignation of Pat Tiberi.
Ooh.
I hope I said that right. Held on August 7th, 2018, won by Troy Balderson.
Troy gonna be resigning in the next. That's a freaky ass last names. You know his
Balderson.
Resignation coming up next.
And he's a Republican as well.
And lastly, a special election in Michigan's 13th congressional district, following the resignation of John Conyers, to be held on November 6th, 2018, coinciding with the regular elections.
And I believe John Conyers resigned regarding all of that Flint stuff, because I believe the governor is they want him to resign as well. Like they trying to get those people out of there. But this is why we have to vote, because it's been years now, and the city of Flint still does not have clean, potable water for everyday use.
It's been like 4 years.
4 years now.
Yeah, and no one's talking about this unless you like on social media, stuff like that. But it's not in the news anywhere.
No,
it's not.
They kind of have forgotten about the people of Flint.
It's because they don't care.
Yeah, they don't. And again, Michigan was held by Republicans. Don't care. It didn't affect their kids. Their kids is in cushy private schools, and they live on the outskirts, and their water supply still coming from Detroit and all of that. So
and that's
they don't
important
give a fuck.
to remember, because had this been in a different area in Michigan, this would have been taken care of longer.
It would have never got this far, because white people would have never allowed their public officials to switch their water sources.
Mm-hmm.
That'd have been like, y'all got us fucked up. Or we want our shit coming directly from where it's been coming from for all these years.
It's been good all these years. This is where we want it from. Exactly.
Yep. So that's what's going on. Those are the seats that are up for grabs. Again, please make sure your registration is up to date. Make sure you are registered. Know the voter registration laws, which leads us to felons. We live in a country where we say if you do a crime, you do the time, but when you get out, we don't allow you to become a proper part of the community because we try to withhold your voting rights from you. Though you've done your time and served your punishment, and we are still trying to punish you. So if you in the show notes, Curtis has a great article from the New York Times about felony voting rights. And you can check that out to figure out if you are in a state where felons never regain their voting rights, if they have to petition to regain their voting rights, or if they regain them automatically after they get out of prison. Some states have laws where you have to complete your probation or parole, then you get your voting rights back, or you have to wait 5 years from the time of your conviction to get your voting rights back. So go look if we have any felons listening, go look. Or if you know some felons and you want to make sure that they can vote if they have the right to, go check out the article, and also go to vote.org where they tell you about states and what their laws are for felons or convicted felons and things of that nature.
Also to tell you what you will need at the polls to vote, because if I'm not mistaken, it's different in every state. The requirements. Some states I think you need birth certificates and all that kind of stuff, and others you just need your voter registration or some form of ID. So be sure to go to vote.org so that you know exactly what it is that you need in order to vote, and share that information, because we do realize that not everyone may have access to the internet, or they just don't know. So if you have people around you that may not be inclined to go to vote.org on their own, maybe you have some older people around you that are not tech savvy, go and do that research for them and let them know what it is that they need to be able to go to vote, because they will turn you away. They don't care. I mean, the people that run those volunteers and everything, the people that are hired to do those voting booths and everything, they're stressed. They are just there trying to do their civic duty, and they have to follow the rules that are in place.
Yep.
Some of them are trash. We're not gonna act like
and that's the other reason you want to know the voter ID laws, because you can bet your bottom dollar that there will be some people at these voting polls trying to deter minorities and marginalized groups from voting and lying to them about why they can't vote. Because in a lot of states, Colorado is one of them, you can just have a current utility bill or a copy of your lease agreement, and that's considered a valid form of ID for voting. So if you don't have a license or a passport, a copy of a bank statement, a utility bill, a paycheck that shows that you are a resident of the state you live in will suffice. A student ID card, a copy of your Medicare or Medicaid card, birth certificate, documentation for naturalization, a veteran ID, any of that is considered voting ID here in Colorado. So go check out vote.org, and the section is called Voter ID Laws. And they also give you the link to your state websites to confirm those voter ID laws and such. So,
and the last thing is the ballot measures by state. Now, there's way too much on the ballot in every individual state for us to touch on, but there is a website that Candice found that wraps all of that up. And when I say ballot measures, and a good example, and we'll use Colorado because Candice did her homework, state minimum wage is on the ballot this election term. So if you want to know more about what's going on, which you should in your state, so you can be informed about what's on the ballot when you do go vote, and you're not just randomly hitting a button or however it is that they vote and you don't know what it is that you're voting on, go to What is it? Ballot? What is it?
Ballotpedia.org.
Okay,
Yeah.
Ballotpedia.
Kind of how like Wikipedia, but it's ballotpedia.org. And so they have a lot of the ballot issues coming up state by state, like I said, and you can see what's what, and it takes some time to figure out how you feel about these ballot issues and how you're going to vote for or against them, how they affect you, how they affect people close to you, your kids, or whatever the case may be. And so it's
very, very important. I want to put this in, how they affect people that are below you in terms of status, in terms of identity. All of that stuff is important. You may not be a trans person, but you need to be mindful of the things that you're voting on that do affect them. And hopefully you're not a hater and you're not transphobic, and you can vote in an informed way that's not going to make those people's lives harder.
Yeah, absolutely. It's time to start putting in the groundwork to get Trump and his administration out of office. And if that means having majority rule in the Senate and the House, then that's what we need to do, guys, because we're all going to suffer in the long run. And we've seen firsthand with the Bush administration, both Bush assholes, how it took years and years to undo a lot of the bullshit that they did.
Yep.
So don't sleep, don't slip. I know a lot of us are discouraged because we never thought in a million years the Trump administration would be in the office, and you feel like your vote doesn't matter and the bad guys will win, but we can't take that attitude. We have to get out here and we have to vote, and we have to lay the groundwork to get this administration, who is embarrassing the holy fuck out of us, out of office. So you have to be ready to vote in these midterms, everybody.
Yeah. We cannot definitely stop fighting.
No.
Yeah, and these are the most important votes.
Yeah, this is more. What I mean? This is more important than it's not as important. I would say it's important with the presidency, because having majority rule in the House and the Senate can block a lot of bullshit. Trump is getting a lot of bullshit passed through because Republicans hold the majority in both houses.
Yes, and he's fighting for their agenda.
Yeah.
So this is what they want. They want him to do. They knew if they put him in the office that they were going to be able to get their agenda pushed.
Right.
Yeah.
And what a lot of people don't realize is, just for a quick comparison, when Obama was in office, the Republicans still held control of Congress.
Yes, and they tried to hold up a lot of shit.
Not only tried, they did.
They did. Yeah, they refused to work with President Obama. And so I know we like to play this game. Well, he didn't do as much as he should have. He couldn't. The Republicans would not let him move for the greater good of the people.
Yeah, you can only do what you want when you're the president, when you're white. So
yeah. And this is not to say that, because I know somebody's listening and they know all of this stuff. It's not to say that Obama was perfect or that he didn't have anything that he did wrong. It's just to highlight that the difference of passing laws when you have Congress on your side versus when you don't.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's why voting for congressional members is very, very important for each and every citizen with the right to vote. Because quiet as it's kept, we touched on it a little bit, but a lot of these people that are in office are voting to be able to find some kind of sneaky, underhanded way to strip you of your right to vote.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
if you're a marginalized person. So
a lot of initiatives to kick into play voter suppression.
It's like gerrymandering.
It's very thinly veiled too. It's, they don't want to call it voter suppression, but we know that's what it is. And require, like, a lot of states are trying to require government IDs, and so you can't use a utility bill, you can't use your Medicaid card or whatever case. That's bullshit.
And that's the whole thing that this administration has started with, that whole so many people who weren't citizens were voting and all this other bullshit they try to put out there. And stuff like that. Even though he won, he still put it out there that, it was all these people that weren't citizens voting.
Yeah, they definitely tried to plant a seed of doubt about our democracy, and it's like all of a sudden this system of democracy that has worked for centuries now you gonna try to convince us it don't work all of a sudden. Like, that's bullshit. There's absolutely nothing wrong with the voter ID and voter registration rules as they stand, except for Republicans and white people want to stop marginalized groups from being able to vote. They want to keep Trump and his brand of fuckery in office, and we cannot let them do that. So
we have come together, Ratchet Ramblings, Not So Newlywed Podcast, and Gayside Stories for this special bonus episode, just to encourage everyone to vote, encourage the people around you to vote, encourage the people that have no idea what's going on to educate themselves and vote. We cannot stress enough how important it is.
Yeah, it's like imperative at this point. I mean, we turned out in droves to get Obama in office and get him reelected. We have to turn out in droves to save ourselves, and it can't, and with a good candidate, we cannot let Trump believe he will be reelected, and we got to get him and his group of criminals out of office.
Yeah.
So, yeah, go vote, go register.
Yes.
Check your registration.
All of that good stuff. And in the meantime, you guys know where you can find us on these interwebs. Check out our shows. We appreciate the support. And hopefully we will see y'all at the polls.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.